Just like the MC Escher artwork we looked at, your projects also need to have spheres. So your spheres need to be behind your head, and they also need to be in between the ribbons of your head and in front of your head. So I chose piano keys because Nina Simone plays the piano. So I created a bubble with a piano key in it and added it to my project. So I'm going to open up that picture of the keys I downloaded. So I'm going to go to File, Open. And I'm going to find that picture of the piano keys that I downloaded. Okay, here it is. So I'm going to open that. And then I'm going to make a new file. Go to File, New. 8.5 by 11, 300 pixels. And then I'm going to click on the piano picture. And I'm going to use my Move tool to drag and drop it over here. Then I'm going to hit Control T to make it bigger. There we go. And then I'm going to hit Enter. Then I'm going to go to Edit, Transform, Warp. And then up here, I'm going to click up here where it says Custom. And I'm going to make it bulge. And then I'm going to drag this up to make it even more crazy. Okay. And then I'm going to select my elliptical marquee tool. And I'm going to hold Shift and click and drag to make a perfect circle. And then I'm going, when I have the elliptical selected, I can drag that circle around to change where I want it. And once I know where I want it, when I click on the Move tool, I can click and drag and it'll cut it out. Okay, so then I'm going to add a new layer and I'm going to copy and paste that onto that new layer. So I'm going to click on or I could just delete that layer. Okay, so now I've got this layer. I'm going to double click and I'm going to go to Inner Shadow. And I can make all these different adjustments until I get it to look like a sphere, get it to look like it's rounded. So once you add a shadow to it, it's going to look like it's rounded. There we go. Okay, so you can change the angle. You can change the distance and the choke and all kinds of stuff. So once you get it kind of where you want it, it doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be the same settings I choose. You're just going to click OK. That looks pretty good. Okay. So then I'm going to click OK. But I'm going to add a highlight to it. So I'm going to use my pen tool to do this. And I'm going to make sure instead of path, it says shape. And the fill is set to white. And the stroke is set to no stroke. Then I'm going to click and drag to make a rounded highlight. Okay, then I'm going to make one over here. So I'm making it kind of rounded. Okay. So there are my highlights. So then I'm going to go over to my layers and I'm going to hold the shift key, click on the top layer, hold shift, click on the bottom layer, then I'm going to right click and I'm going to merge my layers. Then when I move it, everything moves together. Okay, so I'm going to click and drag and I'm going to add it to my project. But I have to open my project first. Okay, so here's my project without any spheres. So then I'm going to click and drag, and then I'm going to drop it right in here. Okay, but that's gigantic. So I'm going to hit Control T, and I'm going to make that a little bit smaller. Okay, so you have to have some shapes behind, in the center, and in front of your head. Okay. So once I like the size and placement, so this is between the ribbons, which I have to have. So I'm going to make it a little bit smaller. And then I'm going to click enter or return or whatever button's on your computer. Now wherever I drag this, I'm going to duplicate it. Click OK. And then I'll have another one. And then wherever I drag that one, say I want it in front, I'm going to drag it above. And now it's above the head. But then I'm going to duplicate it, say OK. And I'm going to drag that one behind. So then there's one behind and there's one in front. Okay, so now I'm going to duplicate again. And I'm going to duplicate again and again so that I have a bunch of them to play around with. Okay, so I can make them bigger. I can rearrange them. Okay, so remember, you have to have some behind, in front, and in between your ribbons.